King of the demons is Ashmedai or Asmodeus. The name of Ashmedai is never mentioned in the Talmud of Jerusalem, nor in older Palestinian sources. He is very cunning and malignant. Of immense strength and very powerful, he is intent upon doing harm to man. And yet he is frequently ready to perform deeds of kindness. Ashmedai foreknows the future, and by the use of the ineffable name he can be made serviceable unto man and compelled to do what is bidden by those who pronounce the ineffable name. Thus, by the power and in virtue of his signet ring, on which was engraven the ineffable name, King Solomon gained power over Ashmedai and made him do his bidding. The legend of King Solomon and Ashmedai runs as follows. King Solomon, the son of David, was about to build the temple of the Lord. And the house, when it was in building, was built of stone made ready before it was brought thither. Now, before the operation was begun, King Solomon consulted with the rabbis and asked him, "How shall I accomplish this without using tools of iron?" As no iron was to be used in the construction of the temple. And the rabbis remembered that an insect existed since the creation of the world, which possessed the power of cutting stones, for even the hardest substance could not resist the power of this insect. The rabbis therefore replied to the king, "There is an insect called shamir, with which Moses once cut the precious stones of the ephod." Hearing these words, the king asked, "And where may this shamir be found?" To which the rabbis made answer as follows: "Conjure up a male and a female demon and coerce them. Perchance they know where the shamir is now to be found, and they will reveal the secret unto thee." And the king did as they had counseled him. He conjured up into his presence a male and a female demon, and when they refused to reveal unto him the whereabouts of the shamir, he gave orders to torture them. But all this was in vain, for the male and the female demon both declared that, not knowing the whereabouts of the shamir, they could not reveal the secret to King Solomon. "But perhaps," they continued, "Ashmedai, the king of the demons, knows the hiding place and will reveal the secret to the king." The king thereupon urged them to tell him where Ashmedai might be found. And the male and female demon answered as follows: "Ashmedai's residence is on a high mountain, where he has dug a deep pit which serves him as a cistern. This he has filled with water. Every morning before ascending to heaven, to study in the school of wisdom there, and to listen to the decrees of the upper assembly, he covers his cistern over with a stone and seals it with his own seal. Every day, when he returns from his celestial visit, he carefully examines the seal, and on finding that it has not been broken, he drinks, quenches his thirst, and finally covers it again with the stone, seals the stone with his own seal, and takes his departure." Thus spoke the male and female demon, and King Solomon decided to test the truth of their assertions. He thereupon sent his trusty servant Benaiah, the son of Jehoiada, and enjoined him to capture Ashmedai, the king of the demons. Benaiah armed himself with a magic chain and a ring upon which the ineffable name was engraved, and went out to execute the command of King Solomon. He also provided himself with skins of wine and a fleece of wool. When he arrived at the mountain where Ashmedai had his abode, Benaiah at once cunningly set to work. He first dug a pit below that of Ashmedai, and into it he drained off the water from the pit of the demon, and plugged the hole with the fleece he had brought. He then dug another pit higher up, and in it he made a channel through which he filled the empty pit of Ashmedai with the wine from the skins he had brought. He thereupon leveled the ground so as not to arouse the suspicion of the demon king, and withdrew to a tree nearby, where he waited for the return of Ashmedai and for an opportunity to seize him. And when he had waited a little while, he heard a noise in the air as of the beating of gigantic wings. Benaiah soon perceived Ashmedai, who was descending from heaven, whither he had gone to study in the school of wisdom and to listen to the decrees of the upper assembly. The demon king examined his seal, and seeing that it had not been tampered with, raised the stone. But lo! To his surprise he found the cistern filled with wine. Now Ashmedai, like all other demons, hates wine, and usually abstains from drinking it. He was therefore unwilling to drink from the cistern, muttering to himself that wine is a mocker, strong drink is raging, and whosoever is deceived thereby is not wise. At last, however, being thirsty, the demon king could not resist the temptation to drink and proceeded to quench his thirst. When he had drunk his fill, Ashmedai, demon king though he was, became intoxicated and lay down to sleep. Thereupon Benaiah quickly came forth from his hiding place and stealthily approached the sleeping demon. He took up the magic chain he had brought with him, and upon which was engraved the ineffable name of God, and fastened it round the neck of the sleeping demon. At last Ashmedai awoke from his sleep. He was mightily wroth, and roared like a lion in his fury, when he saw himself bound and fettered. He seized the chain to break it, but Benaiah called out to him and warned him, "The name of the Lord is upon thee." Ashmedai, cowed and conquered, desisted. And thus Benaiah, the trusty servant of King Solomon, secured the king of the demons and made him prisoner. He thereupon proceeded on his return journey, leading the demon king with him. As they traveled along, they passed a palm tree, and Ashmedai rubbed himself against it, but by doing so uprooted the tree and threw it down. Walking a little farther, they drew near the hut of a poor widow. She came out and implored the demon not to rub himself against her hut, as he might uproot it. Ashmedai complied with the request of the poor woman, and as he was bending back rather quickly, he broke a bone in his body, whereupon he said, "This is that which is written, and a gentle answer breaketh the bone." Proceeding farther on their way, they saw a blind man straying out of his way, whereupon the demon king hailed him and directed him aright. When a little farther he descried a drunken man who was in a similar difficulty, he again showed him the road. A wedding party then passed along, rejoicing and making merry. But at the sight of the merrymakers, Ashmedai wept. And when a little farther on he heard a man ordering at a shoemaker's a pair of shoes that would last him 7 years, he burst out into a peal of uncontrollable laughter. He shrieked and jeered and muttered words of scorn when he saw a magician at his tricks. Benaiah wondered greatly, and asked the demon king to explain unto him the reason of his strange and almost incomprehensible conduct. "Why didst thou so promptly help the blind man, guiding him and putting him aright when he strayed?" asked Benaiah. And Ashmedai made answer, "Because I heard it proclaimed in heaven that this blind man was perfectly righteous, and would inherit the world to come, and that whosoever rendered him a service would also earn a claim to a place in the world of the future." "And why," queried Benaiah, "didst thou put right the man who, overcome with drink, was wandering out of his way?" "Because," replied Ashmedai, "I have heard it proclaimed in heaven that this man was wholly and entirely bad and wicked, and so I rendered him a good service, so that he might not lose all, but at least receive some good in the world that now is." "And why," continued Benaiah to question his prisoner, "why didst thou weep when thou didst see the rejoicing wedding party pass?" "The bridegroom of that wedding party," replied Ashmedai, "is destined to die within 30 days, and his newly wedded wife will soon be a widow, and will needs wait 13 years for her husband's brother, who is now only an infant." "And why didst thou laugh when thou didst hear the man ordering a pair of shoes that should last him 7 years?" again queried Benaiah. "Because," Ashmedai replied, "the man was not sure of even living 7 days." "And why thy jeers and scorn when thou sawest the magician at his works?" "Because," was the answer of the demon king, "at that very moment the magician was sitting upon a vast treasure hidden in the soil underneath him, and yet he knew it not, although he pretended that he could foretell the future and unravel mysteries." And when the demon king was brought into the royal city, he was kept 3 days before being led into the presence of the king of Israel. "Why am I not being led into the presence of the king?" he queried. And the answer was that the king had drunk too much wine, and could not receive him, as the wine had overpowered him. Thereupon Ashmedai took up a brick and placed it upon the top of another brick. When this action of the demon was in due course communicated to the king of Israel, the latter said, "By this action Ashmedai meant, if the wine has overpowered him, go and make him drunk again." On the following day, the demon king once more asked, "And why am I not being led today into the presence of the king?" And the answer was that the king had eaten too much and was resting. Thereupon the demon went and removed the brick he had placed on the top of the other. And when in due course this action of the demon was again reported to the king, he replied, "By this action Ashmedai meant, if he has eaten too much, let him keep diet, be stinted in his food for a day." At last, on the 3rd day, the demon king was introduced to the king of Israel. Ashmedai then measured off 4 cubits upon the floor with a stick, and thus he spoke to King Solomon. "When thou diest, thou wilt rest in thy grave, and possess in this world not more than 4 cubits of earth. But now, although thou hast conquered the world, thou art not yet content, and must needs overcome me, too, and make me prisoner." To which the king of Israel made reply, "I have made thee prisoner because I wish to build the temple, and as I am not allowed to use iron tools, I must have the shamir by virtue of which I can have the stones split. I have made thee prisoner so that thou mayest reveal to me the place where the shamir is to be found." Thus spake the king. "I do not have the shamir in my possession, for it has not been committed to my charge. Know then, O king, that the shamir was committed to the charge of the prince of the sea, who entrusted it to the moorcock, and the moorcock has promised upon oath that he would return it again to the prince of the sea." Thus spoke Ashmedai, and the king of Israel, marveling greatly, asked, "And what does the moorcock do with the shamir?" "The moorcock," replied the demon, "carries the shamir to some bleak rocky mountain, which he cleaves asunder by means of the shamir, to which, as thou well knowest, no substance, however hard, can resist. And into the cleft thus formed the moorcock carries verdant grass, herbs and seeds of various plants and trees. Thus when the valley is clothed with grass and green, it becomes a place fit for habitation." Thereupon King Solomon sent out his servants to search for the nest of the moorcock. At last Benaiah found the nest, and saw that it contained a young brood. Covering the nest with a glass globe, he awaited the return of the moorcock. When the bird came and saw its young, but was unable to get at them, the nest being impenetrably covered with the glass globe, he went and fetched the shamir so as to apply it to the glass and break it. At the very moment when the moorcock was about to apply the shamir to the glass in order to cut it, Benaiah gave a shout, and the moorcock was so frightened that in his agitation he dropped the shamir. Snatching it up, Benaiah went off with it. The moorcock, however, finding that he was now unable to keep his oath, according to which he was bound to return the shamir to the prince of the sea, went and strangled himself. And now Ashmedai remained in the power of Solomon, who detained him until the building of the temple was completed. Once, however, Ashmedai got the better of Solomon. One day, when Ashmedai was alone in the presence of the king, the latter said, "Thou seest now that the demons are but little superior to men, and have no power over them, for I have conquered thee and made thee prisoner." To this Ashmedai replied, "If thou wilt take this chain from my neck, and give me for a while thy signet ring, I will show thee my superiority." Foolishly, Solomon decided to put Ashmedai to the test, took off the chain from his neck, and handed him the signet ring. But no sooner had he done this when he had cause to regret his rash action. Snatching him up, Ashmedai swallowed the king. Then he stretched out his wings so that one touched heaven and the other the earth, and vomited out the king of Israel in a distant land 400 miles away. Ashmedai then gave himself out as King Solomon and took his place, whilst the king himself was far away in a strange country and obliged to beg his bread from door to door. Thus Solomon wandered for many years, until he came back to Jerusalem. He went to the house of the Sanhedrin and said, "I, the preacher, was king over Israel in Jerusalem." But the members of the Sanhedrin thought that he was mad and would not believe him. When, however, he came every day repeating the same thing, they began to reason and to ask themselves what he really meant by his words. They accordingly sent for Benaiah, King Solomon's trusted servant, and asked him, "Does the king ask thee now into his presence?" To which Benaiah replied that he had not been asked into the king's presence for some time. The members of the Sanhedrin thereupon made inquiries whether he who, according to the stranger, had taken the king's place, ever visited the royal harem. And when the ladies of the harem replied that he did visit the harem, the members of the Sanhedrin sent instructions that they should watch his feet and see whether his feet were like those of a cock. But the answer came back that the king visited his harem in stockinged feet and wearing slippers. Thereupon the rabbis felt sure that the stranger had spoken the truth, and that Ashmedai had taken the place of Solomon, the son of David, king of Israel. They escorted the king to the palace, and here restored unto him the chain and the ring, on both of which the name of God was engraven. Then Solomon straightway advanced into the presence chamber, where Ashmedai, arrayed in Solomon's royal garments, was sitting on the throne. No sooner did he see Solomon enter than he took fright, and uttering a terrible shriek, he raised his wings and flew away into space.